How planets actually exalt in astrology. Hi, I am Jan and I have studied astrology for over 10 years, and I have some rather controversial claims about exaltations. So before you react aggressively to this discovery, I invite you to watch the whole video without subjective resistance. There are 5 planets and 2 luminaries in classical Western astrology. After the discovery of Pluto, Neptune and Uranus, rulership of the classical zodiac signs evolved and became more insightful. If you study astrology, you've been taught about the rulership of both generational and classical planets. There are discoveries of exaltations mostly on classical planets in history, such as Ptolemy, explaining the exaltation of the Sun in Aries. Ptolemy says when the Sun enters Aries, the Sun will be moving towards the zenith. From that point, daytime will be extended, while nights get shorter. So Earth gets warmer due to the quality of the Sun, which is enough to convince one that Sun exalted in Aries, since it performs its best. There are many different approaches of other planets and the Moon, and about their exaltations by the classical astrologers in history. But how about the generational planets? Neptune, Uranus and Pluto are known as the higher octaves of Venus, Mercury and Mars, basically upgraded versions of them. So that single information is helpful enough to understand the themes of these 3 planets. But today, there are different approaches of astrologers upon the exaltation of these 3, especially on the Q&A forums that can be accessed easily. In this video, I will be sharing why Neptune, Uranus and Pluto might be exalted in Sagittarius, Scorpio and Leo. But even before that, I will be introducing a wholesome approach of exaltations by using the zodiac with the help of the ascendant and midheaven. As we know, planets in 10th house, precisely on the midheaven, are the top of their performances. So using this point of view, I will be explaining how exaltations might have occurred. Place any sign in the first house beginning from the Aries and then follow the classical path towards the midheaven. And remember, the place of midheaven will be changing due to the location and season. Like when in winter it's more than 90 degrees, while in summer it's closer than 90 degrees from the horizon. So to explain this easily, we will be making an exception of the placement of midheaven that is going to be around the 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th sign from the sign on the first house. Initially, placing Aries on the ascendant, midheaven is usually in the sign of Capricorn. And in classical astrology, planet Mars, ruling Aries, exalted in Capricorn, while it is fall in Cancer, which is the lowest point of the zodiac when Aries rising. When Taurus is on the ascendant, midheaven is Pisces, so Venus exalted in Pisces, following up as Gemini in ascendant, midheaven in Aquarius, so Mercury exalted in Aquarius, then Cancer in ascendant, midheaven in Taurus, so Moon exalted in Taurus, Leo in ascendant, midheaven in Aries, so Sun exalted in Aries, Scorpio in ascendant, midheaven in Leo, so generational ruler Pluto exalted in Leo, Sagittarius in ascendant, midheaven in Cancer, so Jupiter exalted in Cancer, Capricorn in ascendant, midheaven in Libra, so Saturn exalted in Libra, Aquarius in ascendant, midheaven in Scorpio, so Uranus exalted in Scorpio, Pisces in the ascendant, midheaven in Sagittarius, so Neptune exalted in Sagittarius. Although half of the exaltations are compatible and verifies the previous findings for planets that have multiple rulership, while having any generational rulers such as Virgo and Libra, making us think of multiple exaltations or no exaltations at all. As you know, Venus, Mercury, Jupiter and Saturn have rulership on multiple signs. So why some of these also wouldn't have multiple exaltations? Now, we will be looking them in details. For Virgo, Mercury ruled sign, midheaven in Gemini, is the most confusing because Gemini is already occupied by Mercury. However, based on classical Western astrology, Mercury is exalted in Virgo at the same time domicile in that sign. So I will be first analyzing and sticking up with the rulership of Mercury of Geminis rather than Virgos, resulting Mercury exalted in Aquarius based on the previous approach that I just showed. But for Libra on ascendant, midheaven Cancer, made me think of the relationship between womanhood and motherhood. Based on this, Venus also might be exalted in Cancer, because it is undeniable that the most desirable thing or highest achievement for a woman is to become a mother. So, this would be a key approach for this if we think of the common nature of the womanhood. At the other hand, based on this technique, one can figure out the exaltations of Neptune, Uranus and Pluto as previously shown. Now, let me talk about my basic explanations towards them. Neptune exalted in Sagittarius. Neptune holds the topics such as art and drugs with many other derivative topics related to these. We will be focusing on art, dreams and illusion. Looking up in human history, we will be witnessing the best products of art, usually formed around religion and philosophy, which are the themes associated with the sign of Sagittarius. Greatest example of that is the artworks that have been created during the Renaissance era. Da Vinci's, Michelangelo's, and many more artists during the Renaissance mainly focused on religion, mythology, and philosophy in their paintings and sculptures. Even before that, we find artists getting busy upon philosophy and religion's themes so often that almost no other matter hasn't even been considered. That involves the myths and many stories related to important figures. We can all agree humanity was very fond of gods and religious rituals when creating artworks. Also, even though this might seem a bit controversial, exaggerated themes of religion or philosophy undeniably played an active role in feeding the delusions, like they are the drugs of human mind throughout history that both have positive and negative outcomes. For Uranus's exaltation in Scorpio, one can think of the keywords of altering, change, unexpected, and unpredictable, which are all directly associated with Uranus. I believe many will be on the same page with me about the death and how death is the highest form of change that one can experience. Also, death is sometimes the most unpredictable event that alters many mundane matters. If you dig into the symbolism of Aquarius and Uranus on the topic of science, technology, and more, you will be surprised how Uranus is exalted in Scorpio, especially seeing the birth charts of famously known people having this placement. For Pluto's exaltation in Leo, I always happen to think of World War I and World War II. Pluto's main themes are transformation, power, destruction, and focus. And you won't believe how many world leaders lived when Pluto was in Leo during these wars. That era caused many wars and destruction. Somehow there had been plenty of inspiration on the air for some individuals, motivating them to become the power by being one and only authority, resulting in many forms of destruction upon humanity. Pluto as a planet holds the topic of main focus. This also makes me think how one single person and its influence can be the most powerful thing ever imagined. And always keep minding the dictators who lived in that era, such as Hitler and Mussolini, being the leaders who held power over many. Another clue for Pluto's exaltation in Leo is the astronomical presence of Sun, ruler of the sign Leo, is the center of the solar system, keeping all planets moving around it, almost looking like dictating their behaviors through its gravitational pull. Additionally, even in the study book of basic school physics, you'll find that information about how the sun is the main source of power for life on Earth. Finally, always look up for the birth charts of famously known people to understand more about this. Like Bill Gates, for instance. Exalted Pluto is in his second house. The second house is mostly related to one's sources and incomes. Bill Gates has been known as the richest man on Earth for many years and kept that title on and off in the last 20 years or so. So he was born with the perfect placement in his second house, with an exalted Pluto like no other placement you will witness. Based on this method, using the relation between ascendant, midheaven, we have the insight of how all planets perform their exaltations. So, what's your approach on this? Remember to weave natal charts based on these claims and let me know in the comments.